This video is sponsored by Portal 1, the world's first hybrid games platform, launching a whole new category of entertainment that seamlessly mixes casual mobile games with live shows that are embedded directly inside the games. The first format on the platform is Portal 1 Arcade, a retro-inspired universe that immerses the show's guests inside original Portal 1 games as well as contemporary and supersized classic Atari games that enable users to compete directly against these guests right from their mobile phones to win cash prizes. The show features influencers and celebrities who get immersed inside the game world. Then you get to play a live round to try and beat their score. There's over 30 cash prizes awarded during each show, and Justin Bieber has already appeared on the show during a closed beta in Europe. The show runs 3 times a week and there are daily 24-hour tournaments with $100 prizes. These are casual mobile games that you can win by skill or by luck, so anybody can play and win, not just gamers. And each season, there is a season grand prize worth $5,000. The waiting list is open now, and signing up is the only way to access the beta. The app will not be available in the app stores. The beta will open for players sometime this month, and those signing up on the waitlist now will be guaranteed an invite on launch day. Make sure to check out the link in the description to sign up. Alright, so there's a topic that's been on my mind for literal years, since probably around the time that Forces dropped, and that is real fans versus retroactive fans. And basically what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to modern Sonic games, because I haven't really seen this with the classics, there seems to be real fans of a game and retroactive fans. Now, 3D Sonic games have of course had their ups, and they've had their downs. Ow! Shut the fuck up! Okay, but seriously, like, when it comes to 3D Sonic games, we've had this amazing roller coaster just going through the franchise. A franchise that's now 30 years old. A lot of fans have come in and out, a lot of opinions have changed, at least within the core current fans of the franchise. And a lot of that is just due to, like, newer games coming out and changing the perception of previous games, whether it's new Sonic games or new games in general, and it causes certain games to get looked at in a different light. It's like the quality of modern Sonic keeps going down over time to the point that people retroactively go back and praise games that they didn't even love before. On top of that, new positive reception for a game that wasn't once well liked causes a new generation of Sonic fans to go into that game with a different mindset than the original people that played it when the game was fresh. Those new fans come from a different era, so they see things differently to us who played it when it was new, and there's just so many factors that affect the perception of a game. For example, like 06, a game that quite a few people nowadays are saying is a game that had decently good level design with a lot of ambition and heart, and they weren't saying that shit before. Like, remember that shit. I was there. I lived it. Which is honestly one of the major inspirations for making this video. 06 was pretty much, in public perception, the lowest point of the franchise at the time in which it came out. It was the 15th anniversary and the game was rushed and it wasn't loved by a lot of people. It was loved by me, of course, because, you know, I have great taste, but it wasn't loved by a lot of people. But the thing is, a lot of people would argue that it's no longer the lowest point in the franchise now, because we went even lower. Whether you love the original Colors or not, I mean, Colors Ultimate, especially the Switch port, was a huge low. It was trending on Twitter for potentially inducing seizures. And in my books, a rushed port or remaster is actually worse than a rushed game, because with a rushed port or remaster, it's like you can remember a time where there was a better version of the game to play and you have a direct comparison point. Whereas with a rushed game, if you like certain elements of the game, you're just gonna have to deal with whatever glitches or whatever issues come with that game, because that's the only way to play it, which is pretty much how 06 was for years and years and years. Whereas Sonic Genesis on the GBA is just like, yeah, it's still Sonic 1 deep down, but why would I play the GBA version when I could just play Sonic 1? Unless you were just that desperate to play it on the go back in 2006, but you know. And even if you didn't think Colors Ultimate was the lowest point of the franchise, there were huge debates when Forces came out as to whether Forces was better or worse than 06. And a lot of people said 06 was better than Forces. It was not something that was unable to be debated. The fact that we're even having that debate 11 years after 06 means that we pretty much are at the lowest point, because we shouldn't even be debating that. They should have learned their lesson and come back harder and harder and harder. And even if you wanted to say Forces isn't worse than 06, that's cool. Rise of Lyric objectively scored worse from critics and from fans when you check all the reputable websites online. So we can safely say there's been at least 1 point of the franchise after 06 that was lower than 06. Now, public perception is more objective, but when it comes to like your own opinion, like like everyone's got their own opinion what the lowest point of the franchise is. Even with the classic fans, a lot of them said SA2 was the lowest point when that came out. They said Heroes was the lowest point after that when that came out. And then of course they said Shadow was the lowest point when that came out. And then of course they said 06 was the lowest point when that came. It just kept going on and on and on. In terms of public perception, there seems to be 3 different phases that every modern Sonic game goes through. Phase 1, a Sonic game that goes from good in the public perception to bad. For example, Colors. Phase 2, a Sonic game that goes from bad in public eyes to good. For example, Unleashed. And to a smaller degree, 06, thanks to things like P06 and whatnot. And just people longing for the adventure era to come back. And finally, Phase 3, which is the games that went from good to bad to good again. And that would be pretty much the entire adventure era. SA1, SA2, Heroes, pretty much all started as these are good games by the vast majority of people, minus the classic fanboys of course. Then in the early 2010s, they got seen as bad, glitchy, dated messes, and then post Forces, everyone said, hold on a minute. Those early 3D Sonic titles are kind of goated though, you know? You think we can get some remakes of those games, you know what I mean? Like, Crash getting remakes, like Spyro getting remakes. We want some remakes too. Now, of course, there's a few games that don't fit these criteria. There's a few games that have pretty much maintained a good reception, like Sonic Generations has pretty much maintained its good reception over the years. Of course, until Sega decided to remaster it and make Generations Ultimate. Given their track record with Ultimates, we could see how the reputation of Gens could go down in the future. And I guess Lost World has pretty much stayed in the same category of it's okay, and Rise of Earth has pretty much stayed in the category of this is trash. But given the amount of modern Sonic games, I'll pretty much say that these are the outliers and not the rule. As for the storybook games, I guess they're kind of seen in a better light than they were when they first came out, but I wouldn't say they're like held to like an amazing standard. Maybe Black Knight is getting a bit more love nowadays, but I still think Secret Rings is better. Anyway, back to the meta era. I honestly think Forces has a high chance of going from bad to good in the future as well. I mean, I already saw a viral tweet like weeks ago saying that Forces had ambition. And I mean, the dude was like a teenager and he got roasted by the Sonic fan base because opinion people disagree with means roast, right? But tell me this, would this be such an unpopular opinion if Rangers came out and it was somehow worse than Forces and even less inspired? Something to think about, right? How many games after Forces would they have to make that are worse than Forces for people to then go back and say Forces had this, or at least Forces had that? At least the levels were 1 minute instead of 20 seconds like the levels in this new game or whatever. I mean, Colin said 20-second levels to be honest, but I'm sorry. So basically, the real fans of a game are those who always maintained loving a certain game over the years, no matter how cool or uncool it was to like said game. And the retroactive fans are in a way desperate because deep down they want something else, but are just settling for liking this thing because, well, it's Sonic and it's better than what we're getting now in their eyes. It's almost like a supermodel dating me because there was an apocalypse that killed off all the men and I was the last man on earth, and she didn't want to go lesbian like all her other supermodel friends who are making do. Like, sure, I get to date a supermodel, but like, does she really want me? Like, now I'm not trying to dunk on the retroactive fans. I mean, it's not really their fault. The only reason they're doing this is because, again, Sega keep fucking up. Instead of one-upping themselves and getting better, they seem to be one-upping themselves and getting worse. Should that be one-downing themselves? I don't know. Again, just to clarify, I'm not saying that everyone is flip-flopping their opinions. There's obviously been a lot of Sonic fans over the years, a lot of which become inactive in the community as they get older and the franchise stops catering to them. And I'm sure a ton of us never changed our opinions on any Sonic games. I mean, I guess I loved Shadow as a kid. Nowadays, it's not really a favorite game of mine, but I don't dislike Shadow. The only game I kind of changed my opinion on was Unleashed, because I would never say I disliked it, but like, I grew up in the adventure era, and obviously Unleashed was the first main series boost game, and I guess it was so different that I just spent all my time comparing it to like the adventure games, thinking this is so different, you know, like I still liked it, but I didn't truly get the boost formula yet. The only boost formula game I played before that was Rush, and that was 2D, so I had different expectations because it was just on the DS. But with Unleashed, I was like, well, this isn't like, where's my other characters? Where's everything that I'm used to? Like, the shock was a lot for me. I didn't really get that far when it first came out, so eventually, like after Colors and Gens had come out and I beat those games, I went back to Unleashed to actually finish it, because when I first played it when it was new, it was at a friend's house, I didn't get as far. But when I went back and actually beat it in the 2010s and I actually compared it to its peers, which were the other boost Boost games, that's when I realized not only that it was better than the other Boost games, but in general, I just think the Boost formula had clicked for me better because I had played Generations and already loved it, and then Unleashed was more of that, but with more content and more passion. And that's when I really realized that I actually loved this game. But no, I was not one of those people trashing it when it first came out. I didn't dislike the Werehog when it was new. Honestly, the Werehog was just as different as the Boost gameplay. Like, it wasn't like the Boost gameplay is normal Sonic and the Werehog was different. They were both different. I'm like, these are both not adventure to me, so they were kind of equally a shock to me, is my point. But that's just the way things go, man. Opinions change. Different generations of fans exist in the community. Classic fans, a lot of them might be like, the last great Sonic game was Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I've pretty much been saying the last great modern Sonic game was Generations, and that was over a decade ago. And who knows, in another 5 years or so, people will be saying this.
2021, this shit. So literally, we've not had a good Sonic game since fucking Forces.
Anyway, man, let me know what you guys think about this topic. What do you guys think about real fans versus retroactive fans when it comes to Sonic game? What do you guys think about the 3 phases I've outlined on where the public perception of a game shifts depending on what comes after it? And are there any games that you've changed your opinion on heavily years after it came out because of something that came afterwards? But yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. Make sure to check out the non-Sonic channel. The link will be in the description. But that's all I have to say right now, so Premy out.